My name is David Pierce. I'm the Assistant Professor of Art and Art History here at Adelphi University, and I'm also the Program Coordinator for the Graphic Design program. My work for the Vietnam Fine Arts Museum in Hanoi is an ongoing project. It's been about 3 years now. Started with branding and redeveloping their branded assets, also working with them on their signage and their wayfinding solutions, including maps, visitor guides, social media, and also some of our graphic design interns have worked with the museum as well. This collaboration started with an introduction. I used to show my artwork at a gallery in Brooklyn, and that gallerist moved to Hanoi, and he was doing translations for the museum. And I was introduced to the director of their communications, and the timing was right. When we met, we decided that it was a great time to collaborate for my research and to also update their assets, because branding solutions don't last forever. New technologies such as mobile come along and you need to redevelop assets, visual assets, for these reasons, and also just to refresh the forward-facing visuals of an organization. And in this case, it's a museum, so it's a very different approach. My current project with the museum is redesigning their map, which was a very interesting project this summer. In June, I visited the museum. It is in an old French colonial building with a lot of different floors, so it wasn't built for purpose, wasn't designed to be a museum. In fact, it was a boarding school for children, and that doesn't allow for easy flow between gallery to gallery. So what I did was walked through the entirety of the museum along with their designer, and we created a new map that incorporates each room and also highlights some new collections and some new placements of their objects. The culture and history of Vietnam influenced my approach to this greatly, because it was important that I remained a collaboration with their designers and their communication professionals, because it is their culture and they understand it better. For example, I may not know the cultural implications of using a certain color. There are other things such as how an audience approaches. But in this case, it's a very international audience, so it needed to be Vietnamese in its history and its approach and the visuals, but it also needed to appeal to a wider international audience. Some of the most important design changes introduced in this project were redesigning the logo and the logo system. We redesigned the logo to work with mobile and new technologies, but also for their social media presence and merchandise. We took a look at the building, and some of the architectural elements were introduced as patterns as part of the larger design system, and also updated the typography to integrate with the signage and wayfinding solutions inside of the museum. The impact that I hope to bring to the museum and its community is part of the mission of the Vietnam Fine Arts Museum, which is preserving and highlighting the history of Vietnam, but also putting a focus on contemporary work that is happening around the country. The collection of the museum has a wide breadth of historical elements that are centuries old, as well as contemporary work that is happening and being highlighted in their temporary exhibitions. So we're hoping that these design solutions highlight these, at least help to highlight all of these elements of the museum and give it an international focus, because ultimately the audience of this museum is both domestic and international. One of the challenges of this project is that designing for a museum is a unique project. It is an elevated cultural institution, so it needs to be done carefully. And I also needed to understand the cultural elements of this project. So that involves a lot of design research, so it takes time to do it well. An example of this is if you look at the branding for the MoMA as compared to the Met here in New York. One is very playful and the Met is a little bit more austere. So it needs to be, I need to understand the collection of the museum, I need to understand its mission, I need to understand its visitors, and I need to understand holistically what this museum needs to present visually. Some of the most rewarding aspects of this project was the opportunity to visit the museum and do deep research about its collection. I love museums, I love being around art, and the opportunity to integrate my own design research while being around art and this unique collection was an amazing opportunity. but it was also a great opportunity to be able to integrate some of my students as student interns and student workers, and then they were able to lend their design voices to this project, which was an amazing opportunity for all of us. This ongoing project has been an amazing opportunity to apply my own design research to an international museum, but also to take these lessons and these approaches into the classroom. This really influenced my teaching because it gives me an opportunity to show my students hands-on real work that's happening now. For example, I show them the design system that we created and how that every element and choice that they make, that a student or a designer will make, will influence how it is viewed holistically.